Were you ever that 1 in 1 million? If so, what's your story? I am a 19-year-old male. In August of last year, I was driving with my sister when suddenly her face turned cold. "Gavin, your eyes are yellow," I remember her saying. I quickly pulled down the passenger's mirror, and to my horror, two yellow eyes radiated back at me. Fast forward, I spent a month being sick. The initial diagnosis was hepatitis A. Went back to the doctor. Nothing was better, things were worse in fact. Was sent to then to the liver transplant unit at UCSF. By this point my eyes had turned muddy orange, and my pee was the color of a mahogany tree. Anyways, the team of liver doctors at UCSF managed to save my liver. I was diagnosed with autoimmune hepatitis, and my eyes are white again. For my 7th birthday, we went to Disneyland. They just happened to be having a car a day giveaway when we were there. For my 7th birthday, Mickey Mouse gave me a Pontiac Firebird. I'm allergic to potatoes. Never met someone else who is, so I guess it's 1 in a million. Never eaten chips or fries. No sure about the odds on this one, but I survived a non-survivable plane crash. I was on an old Poda famous for being very safe and uncrushable on a tour of the desert in western China when I was like 7. My father's friend who hosted me and piloted the plane didn't survive, but somehow I got out with a concussion and apparently passed out for almost a day in the middle of the desert. In the wreckage of the crash, 50 kilometers from the town airport, on the edge of the desert. The people who found me were some tree planters. They plant greens in the desert to protect towns from sandstorm. A lot of people live in these desert towns in China. This found me on their way picking up a shipment. And the only reason they looked was BC they were making a bet on how fast the egg would cook in the sand and went off the road to test. Edit. First thing first, according to legends, 15-minute. I never tested it though. So, according to my dad's, the theory that I might have lived was because the plane was mostly made out of fabrics and wood. So when the plane crashed, the front half collapsed and took the majority of the impact. Though I got knocked out, I was probably covered under the wreckage and in the shades. It cooled me off enough to survive for a day or so. I slept wrong one night and pinched a nerve in my neck so severely, I lost the right side of my body. It just went silent like it wasn't there for months. I woke up in the worst pain I've ever experienced and couldn't talk, move or do anything. The ER doctor thought I was having a stroke. My doctor had never seen a case as severe as mine and it was purely a freak accident. Recovery took months, but I have use of my leg and hand again, with some numbness. Other than pain and spasms, I'm mostly back to normal. If it makes you feel better, the chances of it happening are smaller than dying in a fire in your sleep. The first one, I don't know about the exact odds, but I was born on the 7th of July 77 and weighed 7 pounds and 7 ounces. Sadly though, I clocked in at 6:50 a.m. The other is that around the age of 14 I started to notice the outsides of both of my feet starting to get much wider. After a couple of years of buying expensive custom-made shoes, they decided to perform surgery on my feet. Turned out I had extra muscle growth along with something else I don't recall at the moment. My podiatrist told me he submitted a scholarly article on it. May also have been genetic, as when my dad was 3, he developed an extra toe growing out of each one of his big toes. I was struck by lightning while talking on a landline. This was in the early 90s. Lightning struck the telephone line and traveled through the handset to my ear. My parents drove me to the I couldn't talk very well. My brain knew what I wanted to say, but my mouth didn't want to say it. I had a terrible stutter. My doctor told me that I had had a dose of good, old-fashioned electroshock therapy. My speech was normal the next day, but I get a terrible headache whenever a thunderstorm comes through. I am allergic to the cold, like literally. I get intense hives, swelling, I pass out, and throw up. Doesn't even have to be freezing. Below 45 degrees without a jacket and I can't do it. I have to carry an EpiPen with me in the event that I drink something too cold or have a severe reaction. I have symmetric bilateral coloboma of the iris and retina. Essentially, my pupils are shaped like keyholes instead of circles. A single coloboma is pretty rare, double coloboma is even more rare, and double symmetrical, well, you get it. My axe was struck by lightning several times and lived. Died in a car accident though, so not as lucky as he claimed to be. I lived in Florida for the first 18 years of my life and spent most of my free time outdoors, fishing, camping, what have you. The summer before my junior year of high school, I found myself out hiking nearby by my home with a buddy. We were stomping around in some clay deposits inside of a little ravine. Even minimal geographic relief is dramatic in a place as flat as the Gulf Coast when it started to Florida rain. For those of you who can't relate, imagine a torrential downpour. Our minds immediately jumped to the exciting possibility of a flash flood raging through the crevasses we were exploring. In an effort to make our day more exciting and not take any chances, we began to climb vertically out of the canyons versus take the lengthy path out of it horizontally. We got to the top, put our feet on the ground, and did pull up. As I stood up, I felt the ground underneath me squirm. I had stepped on a snake. I screamed and kicked the snake that was latched onto my foot off me by reflex. As an Eagle Scout, I immediately recognized the red on yellow pattern as the snake slithered away and knew it was a coral snake. We rushed home, drove to the hospital, and was seen. The doctors informed my parents the nearest antivenin was a 3-hour helicopter ride away. The first symptom, lung failure, would occur after 2 hours. My parents called my friends and family and we all spent time together without me knowing my fate. My friends and family arrived and subsequently left together. My parents turned off the lights and we prayed together. Around 2 hours after being bitten, a nurse came into our dark room with gurney to collect my dead body. I asked the nurse, "Has there been any developments?" To her surprise, the doctors came in, shocked I was alive, told me it was a dry bite, and that I should remain whatever religion I practiced. TLDR, I was bit by a coral snake. The doctors told my parents I was going to die. I survived. Edit, I just woke up, but I'll try to answer some of your questions before classes. 1. The 1 in 1 million is mainly getting bitten by the snake in the first place, but also subsequently surviving. 2. I'm Christian Lutheran, just in case you were curious. Ah, man. People might not believe me, but this is 100% true. My girlfriend had a child and we had no idea she was pregnant at all. She's 5 feet 4 inches and 140 pounds. Not super skinny, but definitely not fat. She had not belly to tell it. When my son was born, I looked back and some attitude change made sense. And it made sense that she couldn't run, but otherwise she was 100% flat, never showed signs of pregnancy. I had just turned 21 6 days previous, and she was feeling really sick throughout the day. I had some buddies over to drink, and she felt sick. She lived with her parents at the time. She ended up going to the hospital. They told her she most likely had salmonella poisoning. After pulling blood, they told her she was pregnant, and a few minutes later told her she was in labor. Crazy thing is, 3 months previous, she'd gotten an IUD and passed the piss test, so they put it in. Because I was drinking with friends at home, I had no idea what was happening. She called me around 7:30 a.m. to tell me, and I was shook in the most negative way possible. We had always agreed to never have a kid. I was freaking out. I hated this. I showed up. Parents were of course awkward, but of course it was great experiences, as far as things you never expected and hoped would never happen could go. After a few hours at the hospital, I left to take a shower and eat, spent about 30 minutes in a Taco Bell freaking out, and went back to go on with my life. I love my son. I never thought I'd be in this situation, but I'm so glad it am, no matter how hard it gets. Was once walking past a phone box that started ringing, answered it, and it was a friend of mine who started chatting to me like everything was normal. When I looked at the number of the phone box, it was 1 digit different to my home number, and my friend just flat out refused to believe what I was saying. I swear this story's true, but no one ever believes me when I tell it. During a sleep study when I was little, after I had sleeping problems, they discovered I'm basically a zombie. I have insomnia and have trouble getting to sleep, but when I do finally get to sleep, I don't wake up easily. This is because, when I do sleep, everything shuts off. My heart stopped, brain activity dropped next to nothing, I didn't move or breathe at all. They had to wake me up several times, and the doctor said they couldn't figure out what was going on. Finally, they let me sleep, and I stayed in a state of near death for 2 hours, then woke up just fine. This still happens to me, and as a result, I don't have dreams or a sense of time passing when I sleep. I fall asleep and I wake up instantly, from my perspective. This has led to even more sleep issues and brain problems, as well as random pains, heart palpitations, and muscle spasms, and there's basically nothing anyone can do because they don't know what's going on with me. I've also survived entire weeks without sleeping several times during the start of my insomnia when I was 7 years old, and managed to not completely lose my mind. Not completely, anyways. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and share your similar stories in the comments. See you soon.